These conspiracy theories are going viral on TikTok right now. We gotta talk about the song that Justin Bieber sang on live about his relationship with Hailey and how he wants to be with Selena, because honestly, I couldn't believe this when I saw it.
Not Justin Bieber singing an unreleased song from Swag titled "I'm Stuck in a Relationship That Is Not You."
I'm stuck in a relationship with you. My relationship is yours.
Like, really? Really? And some people believe that at one part in the song he whispers Selena.
You all know the things. We keep changing.
In the song he sings "Loving on You Like We Were 18."
Sucking on the big screen. Get to loving on like we were 18. And I was stuck with humans on the big screen. And we were taking time and we were big dreams.
This is literally from his 18th birthday party. There are a lot of people that are like, oh, Selena Gomez is still obsessed with them and whatnot. But I mean, I think Justin Bieber is the most obsessed with this triangle because this song, like, he knows what he's doing with the song. Some more lyrics we hear Justin singing in the video. I just want to cry. Why don't I leave? Why do I stay?
Too late for you to trust me now. I just wanna cry. Why don't I leave? Why do I stay? Why can't I hold you?
And when he sings, "I'm stuck in a relationship isn't you. My relationship is easy." You can't help but think that he's talking about his marriage to Hailey Bieber. Honestly, I feel really bad for Hailey in all this because this is so freaking embarrassing. They've been married for like, what, 6-7 years? They have a child together. The fact that you're singing your song titled "I'm Stuck in a Relationship That Is Not You" and you're calling your relationship easy. Like, honestly, this is the type of love that no one should ever wish for. I'm sorry. Like, he is toxic.
This honestly is fucking insane. Like, it confirmed, first of all, a lot of conspiracy theories that we've already had about Justin and Hailey and Selena and that whole dynamic. And I honestly think the internet, myself included, we really went into the conspiracy theory that it's Hailey Bieber that was so obsessed with Selena and Justin and how she like stalked Justin for a decade or whatever. But honestly, taking a step back and hearing that shit, I just feel bad for Hailey because that's like so fucked up. And I don't think anyone deserves that. And you should just leave him, dump him. I think that stuff like this is the reason that a lot of people believe the theory that Hailey Bieber is in fact Justin Bieber's handler and that they're not really together in a relationship. And I think a lot of the reason people believe this is just based on how Justin treats her in public, like slamming doors in her face and all of that. Like, he just doesn't act like a good boyfriend, husband should. Obviously, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but it's definitely very interesting. And honestly, like, I don't know if I feel like he was whispering Selena, but either way, if my husband was singing that song, I would literally cry. Cry so bad. Are you kidding? What? Like, why would you? I don't know. I had to look up multiple times if this was AI or not because I couldn't believe it. But it in fact was a Twitch live stream. So there's that. And do I think he was singing about Selena Gomez? Yes. Do I think that he might be doing things that's not healthy for him? Also, yeah. The way he's slurring his words in that is just kind of concerning in itself, like a whole separate thought pattern. But it's definitely making me take a look at the whole Selena, Hailey, Justin love triangle like conspiracy theory in a very different light. And I do think that Justin's not over the situation with Selena and she's literally like married now. Like, leave her the fuck alone. Like, it's so, you're married. You are married. What's happening? Like, oh my God. I really honestly hope that their marriage is just for show because I don't feel like anyone deserves that, TBH. So I don't know. I need to hear your guys' thoughts on this though, because I feel like it's a pretty big update to conspiracy theory that we've been talking about for years at this point. So let me know your thoughts. And that's my baby. She's iconic. All right, the next conspiracy theory I want to talk about has to do with the deadly timeline theory. So I have seen a lot of people talk about this conspiracy theory in general, but this girl really worded it in the perfect way that it has been happening in my head since I was a child, and honestly, it's been plaguing me. It has.
So it's this theory that I read that said when you avoid a deadly situation like a near car crash or something falling that almost hits you, you really didn't avoid it at all. According to the theory, you died, but your mind just can't process its own death. So instead, it instantly switched you into the closest parallel timeline where you survived. And in fact, that's why the time feels so unreal. Like, that's why the time slows down or you get that little ringing in your ear. People who believe this say that deja vu is just the loading glitch from jumping timelines. And that I've been here before feeling is basically your brain catching up to the new reality that you just shifted into. And the wild part is that some people think that every time your life feels like a little bit off, like somebody's behavior changes, small details feel wrong, or you just can't remember how you got from point A to point B. That's the leftover static from a timeline jump. So according to this theory, you might not be the original you no more. You might just be the version that survived.
That makes me feel insane. And the thing is, it's a conspiracy theory and a thought that has plagued me for literally my entire life. I don't remember ever thinking that this wasn't the case. Anytime like I hydroplane on a freeway or like anything like that, like a, like a scary moment happens, I'm like, well, what if I'm actually just dead? And I hate that. I hate that my brain thinks like that because it's so strange to see people talk about this in a conspiracy theory way and not just like a mental illness way, because I think that's why I think like that. But I do think that this is one of those conspiracy theories that just make me spiral, okay? Because there's no way to disprove it. And there's not really a way to technically prove it. What we do know is that we've all experienced the weird phenomenon of a deja vu. It is a very eerie, strange feeling that no one really quite knows how to actually explain. And I hate that. I really do. The unknown aspects of conspiracy theories are what always freak me out. Like if there's something that I can like figure out and crack and look at things from different angles and see what is probably most likely, it makes me feel a little bit better, a little bit more in control of a situation. But when we're looking at something like this, girl, I don't fucking know. It's like the life is a simulation theory. Like, I don't know, but probably. And I don't like that. I honestly continuously think about this when it comes to other people as well. Like when somebody in life dies, I always think, and I can't remember a time where I didn't think like this, that maybe that person has just like continued on living their life like in their head, because we don't know how to process death because we've never seen it and had it. And I don't love it. It really makes me feel existential, and I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this. So if you have any anecdotes proving these theories, please let me know, because I love to read them, even though they make me insane. So yeah. The next conspiracy theory is a wild one. It's basically the idea that Melania Trump and Jeffrey Epstein have a secret daughter. And it's kind of nuts, so strap in.
Okay, just for fun, and because I've gotten a few requests to cover this, I'm going to tell you guys about a theory that has evolved on the internet and online forums over the past 3 years or so about Paulo, Donald, Melania, and Jeffrey. I really haven't taken the time to cover it because it is just a theory, but with Michael Wolff filing his lawsuit against Melania, it came to the forefront of my mind. So I figured, let's have a little fun. Let me indulge those who are curious about this theory. So I'm gonna give you guys the facts first and then explain people's theories that they have. So just bear with me. Okay, so here's the facts. There is a Slovenian DJ named Brina Knaus. She's very popular, especially in Milan, London, Ibiza. She has a fan base within the United States and performs within the United States as well, but the largest chunk of her fans do not come from the United States. Brina was born in Trevalier, sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, Slovenia, on October 20th of 1985. Before Brina was a DJ, she was a model, and she modeled for Paolo Zampoli. He represented her, he was her agent. When Brina first signed with Paolo, he moved her from Slovenia to Milan, where she could begin modeling. With Paulo's representation, Brina was very successful in the modeling industry. She has been in Vogue Italia as well as Glamour Italia. And Brina was very invested in modeling until about 2012, and she decided to embrace her passion for DJing and make it a full-time career. Okay, so that's one set of facts. Now we're going to move to another set of facts before we get into the theory. Melania Trump, at the time, Melania Knaus, was born in Novo Mesto, Slovenia in 1970. From Melania's book, we know that at age 15, she began taking a train to the capital of Slovenia, where she would attend a photography school. We also know that from her book, when she was turning 16, her father put her and her sister up in an apartment near Melania's photography school in the capital of Slovenia, where she and her sister would live together. Within this photography school that she attended as a teen was where she would come across and meet photographers who piqued her interest in becoming a model. So that would ultimately be her pipeline into modeling at a very young age. This was all occurring in 1985 when Melania was around 15 to 16 years old. And then she would ultimately go on to become signed by Paolo Zampoli, and he would move her from Slovenia to Milan. So those are the facts, okay? Now, what I'm going to get into next is the theory. This is a theory that has been created based on circumstantial evidence, coincidences, and creativity. Okay, so what I'm about to say now is just the theory, not the fact. There are users on the internet who believe that there are some photo shoots from when Melania was around 16 years old that appear to be masking a baby bump. As an example, I personally think that this is just how the shirt is laying, but some people believe that that is a baby bump. Okay, so these are some of the photos that users have shared that they believe show Melania as a pregnant 15 or 16-year-old. People believe that in those photos, Melania was pregnant with Brina Knus. People believe that Brina Knus is Melania Knus, now Melania Trump's secret firstborn daughter, whom she gave birth to around 16 years old. Like, I do get it. They do favor one another. They have the same last name, the shared modeling agent, the same country of birth. They find it convenient that Melania was living away from her parents and in an apartment with her sister at the time that Brina was allegedly conceived and birthed. I think all those things combined have led a lot of people to believe that this theory could possibly be true. Just so you can visualize, here's where Melania was born, down here, up there is where Brina was born, and the capital of Slovenia was where Melania was living when she was a teenager. Now, one thing that the theorists of this conspiracy theory have not quite decided on is who Brina's father is. There's a lot of people who believe that Jeffrey is Brina's father, because there's a lot of people who believe that Jeffrey procured Melania for years before she came to the United States to marry Donald Trump, but there's really no evidence of that. But also another man who is debated as potentially Brina's father is Paolo Zampoli, especially with like the resurrection of the topic of Paolo Zampoli coming back up along with the conversation surrounding Jeffrey. There's a decent amount of people who believe that Paolo could potentially be Brina's father, a secret child that he shared with Melania when she was a teenager. While I'll give the conspiracy theorists credit for pulling this theory together, I do acknowledge that Brina looks like a perfect combination of Melania and Paolo. This could all really be nothing more than a theory.
Here's the thing with that. I honestly think that she looks like an exact combination of Jeffrey Epstein and Melania Trump. I kind of believe that theory more. Obviously, it kind of makes it more interesting and horrible if that were true. I don't know that I think it's true. I think it's weird that they have the same last name and are from the same place, but also if they were trying to cover that up, maybe they wouldn't do that. I don't know. I also have never been to Slovenia, so I don't know if Knus is just like a popular last name there. Like, is it like Smith here? Because then that's like not that suspicious. I don't know. But what I will say is that girl looks so much like Melania. Easily she could be Melania's daughter. Like, I would believe that in a heartbeat, which would be really, really sad. Obviously, if an adult like Jeffrey Epstein were to have impregnated her when she was 15 years old, that's disgusting. But honestly, I understand why there are so many people who believe this theory. All right, the next conspiracy theory is a follow-up to the theory that Erika Kirk and JD Vance are having an affair. Most of this theory comes from Erika Kirk claiming that nobody can replace her husband, but she sees a lot of qualities in JD Vance that she saw in Charlie Kirk, which I just think is a weird statement. And also the way that she hugged him was weird in a lot of people's minds. So the conspiracy theory plot has thickened. First of all, people have this really weird conspiracy theory that she's like 8 weeks pregnant specifically. I don't know where the hell that comes from. Obviously couldn't find any verifiable evidence that that's true. However, people have been talking about how Usha Vance, JD Vance's wife, went without her wedding ring the other day. And I do think that's suspicious. Listen, I don't really think it's a big deal in like normal people life. Like if someone doesn't wear their wedding ring, like it's not usually like symbolic of anything. Like sometimes it could be, but a lot of the time people take off their rings to go to the gym or whatever the fuck. However, when you are a public figure, when you are the second lady of America, I do think it's kind of a statement. I don't know. I want to hear what you guys think about this, because when I saw this, I was like, damn. I don't know. A lot of people on the internet think that Erika Kirk and JD Vance are gonna get together, and that JD Vance is going to run for president, and then Erika Kirk will be the first lady, and I really just would like not want that to occur. But regardless, I kind of think there's some truth to this theory, but I want to hear your thoughts. All right, the next conspiracy theory has to do with gardening, and not this kind of gardening, literal gardening. Yeah, I know. Sounds weird, but I think it connects to darker conspiracy theories that I've been thinking about for a very long time, okay? So I saw this lady make a TikTok about how the gardening industry is intentionally making gardening harder so that they can sell you more unnecessary products. And I have been saying this for years about makeup and skincare specifically. 100,000%, I think this is a thing. I think the makeup and skincare companies are, I don't know why they did that, are working together, because I think that our makeup probably makes our skin worse and is not good for our skin. So then therefore we need more skincare. And I think it would be stupid for them to not kind of work together. Just saying. I feel like the concept that people create a problem that doesn't need to exist is nothing new. And honestly, I've always believed this conspiracy theory to an extreme extent, like acne products that cause more acne, cleaning sprays that leave residue. I also think this is the case with fast food restaurants making their food very salty on purpose. So not only do you get like addicted to their food, because that's like a whole other thing, but you also need a large Diet Coke to go with that. You just got to. I have also always believed the theory that phone batteries degrade anytime a new iPhone comes out. This one pisses me off because it's 2025. We do so many things. We haven't figured out how to like not have a rechargeable phone somehow. I don't know. I don't even know how it would work, but like fix it. So the concept here I just thought was interesting to hear somebody talking about like such a specific industry that I've never gardened really, but hearing someone explain like, oh, okay, you need fertilizer for this, but if you use that fertilizer, then it's gonna make you need more mulch. Whatever the case may be, I feel like it perfectly explains the concept that I've always had in my head, that I think that these companies are doing as marketing tactics, but they're not even marketing. It's literally just like making their product worse so that you need more of it. And I think that, or that you need another product of theirs to fix the problem that you wouldn't have had in the first place. And it's fucked up. I know a lot of people are gonna be like, it's not a conspiracy theory, it's true, but like no one's told us that. Like it's not like frickin' Sephora's coming forward and it's like, yes, our makeup actually makes you have a lot of acne, and your skincare, it's not doing anything, it's making it worse. It is a frickin' conspiracy theory, okay? But I believe it. I do actually think it's true. Don't get me wrong, because honestly, they'd be kind of stupid to not do that. And yeah, it could go darker when you want to go like the big pharma route and think that like certain medications to fix one problem just cause two other problems that you'll need medication for that, which ends up with big pharma having more money in their pockets. Do I think it's all true? Probably. It's fucked up. It is. Am I a consumer though at the end of the day? Like, yeah, I'll buy everything that I see on TikTok. I don't know. So I'm like, you know, that's just the way that it is, okay? All right, these pictures have been circulating on TikTok lately, and they are Trump and Clinton, aka Bubba, because people talk about how Putin had a picture or video of Trump blowing Bubba, which many people have decided that Bubba is Bill Clinton. I guess that's his nickname. Other people have talked about how Jeffrey Epstein had a horse named Bubba, which would be worse. So I don't know, but either way, there have been a lot of these photos circulating, and people like cannot tell whether or not it's AI or if it's real. Here's the thing. I think it's AI. I do think it's AI or Photoshop. But what's scary to me here is that AI is starting to look a little bit too real. And this is exactly the point that I've made before. And saying that the government has no regulations on AI so that things like this can happen and people could just be like, it's AI. It's not real. And we would just have no way of actually knowing whether or not it's real. That's crazy. And I do think that's why the government hasn't put, you know, proper regulations on AI and disclaimers that things are AI, because then when stuff like this comes out, they can easily just defend themselves by saying it's not real. I don't like that. But I want to know if you guys think it's real. This photo, in my opinion, doesn't look real. Like, I feel like the one where you can see Trump's face, I'm like, I don't really see it. But the one where he's just like looking at Clinton's dick, yeah, that one, I just feel like it looks kind of real to me. I don't know. It's probably not, but I do think it's an interesting conspiracy theory, and I want to hear your guys' thoughts on it. Do you think that Bill Clinton and Donald Trump really had a little something going on. Personally, I kind of think it would be, unfortunately, more likely if it was a horse, in a bad way. Like, obviously that's disgusting, but I feel like Trump is weird. I don't know. But people really talk about too with this photo is how accurate it feels, like era-wise. Like Trump's hair really matches his hair from 2004, although I feel like his toupee has been the same for the last like 30 years, but who's to say? I also feel like Clinton's clothes also match 2004. The kind of vibes, the furniture style, very time appropriate. So who's to say? A lot of people think that this one's real. I don't know, and I think it's kind of weird that we don't have a definitive answer. I've seen from both sides people running this photo through an AI generator to say, is this AI? And I've heard people say 100% it's not AI, and I've heard people say 100% it is. So I don't fucking know, but it's interesting nonetheless. Speaking of Trump, I couldn't believe this when I saw it. Honestly, it is such an interesting conspiracy theory that kind of has proven itself to be true, actually. But essentially Twitter, it kind of exposed itself, well, considering it's run by Elon Musk, and I don't know, are him and Trump still fighting, or are they cute now? I don't really know. Either way, it exposed a global network posing as American patriots, specifically MAGA influencers that have hundreds of thousands of followers. But really these accounts are based in foreign countries and literally don't even exist as like the person that they are pretending to be, which is kind of dark and scary because when you think about things that people on the internet like that believe, it gets a little dicey here, okay? So basically Twitter added a new feature where you can see this account is posting from, and just like that, hundreds, if not thousands of some of the most aggressive, loud, patriotic, America First, MAGA-ass influencers were suddenly revealed to be posting from Russia, Nigeria, Bangladesh, Morocco, Eastern Europe, West Asia. The list goes on. So the conspiracy theory here is that these countries want America to hate each other. And I do think that that's like kind of true. I don't really think that's a conspiracy theory, but it's kind of nuts that they've taken it to this level to make and run. Like imagine that being your job, to run a fake MAGA page in fucking Russia. Like your job is to run a MAGA page and pretend like you're an American patriot and you get paid to do that. That's crazy, but it's literally, it's happening. Like that's like, actually, we know it's happening. Why is the question? And really, I do think that it just shows how corrupt this entire administration has been. I'm not even saying that this is necessarily their fault, but it's interesting that a lot of the accounts that were exposed were like Republican-based accounts and MAGA-loving people. And it didn't seem like any Democratic accounts from what I saw were found to be run outside of the US that were trying to promote a divide in America, which is honestly kind of a concept overall, is that people think that Trump is basically in Putin's pocket because Putin wants us to all hate each other and wants there to be a divide in the country, and Trump is doing that. So I do think that it is an interesting concept, 100%. I just don't really know how people don't believe this theory, because it's like we have proof of it kind of now. Honestly, it goes so much deeper than this. I feel like I could genuinely do a whole video on Russia, but I'm also kind of scared. I kind of don't want to, so don't ask for it because I'm scared. Russia has paid right-wing influencers up to $400,000 a month to promote pro-Russia narratives, anti-Ukraine messaging, anti-NATO rhetoric, and distrust in the US institutions in general. And that's concerning. That is concerning. I don't know why we don't talk about it more. I'm not gonna lie. Because again, this isn't really a conspiracy theory. This is publicly documented stuff. Like we are now seeing unfold an official foreign influence campaign that is meant to divide Americans and fracture political trust and destabilize democracy and promote geopolitical chaos that is in Russia's favor. And I don't love that. I don't love that. I feel like people are not even talking about how crazy this is because it's actually kind of fucking nuts. And I need to hear your guys' thoughts on it. All right, the last conspiracy theory that I want to talk about is for my Stranger Things girlies, okay? This guy posted on TikTok his theory about Stranger Things and the truth behind it. And I found it so freaking interesting. So did everyone else. I've been tagged in this countless amount of times and I honestly think it could be true. And I'm very excited to find out.
What if Will Byers took Eleven's place in the very first episode of Stranger Things? I think I just cooked down on this theory. Let me explain. So one of the biggest questions that we have in Stranger Things is, why Will? Why was it that in the very first episode of Stranger Things, Will gets taken? Clearly, from what we've learned, there was a reason as to why Will specifically was picked. But what if it was actually never meant to be him? What if he was a replacement for 11. Let me explain. In the very first episode of Stranger Things, we get a sequence in which Will, basically biking home, sees a Demogorgon on the road, goes home, he hides in his house, and the lock to his house slides open. We know, Duffer's confirmed, Demogorgons don't have telepathic or psychic abilities, right? They can't do that. They can't open the deadbolt to the house. So someone else must have. Now, a lot of people have hypothesized it's probably Vecna. But what if it was actually 11 instead? I believe that after 11 gets out of Hawkins' lab, because we know she breaks out or whatever, she crawls through that little tunnel thing, and she hides in the Byers' shed. There are a couple things that point to this that I just want to mention. First of all, okay guys, under further inspection, what I say in this clip is #wrong. So instead I'm gonna mention Hopper, when he goes and investigates the shed, the Byers' shed, I think it's in the second episode, there is a sleeping bag in the shed. And there's a deleted scene or whatever, delete something from the script, apparently, reportedly, a scene in which he finds a sleeping bag in the shed. That doesn't exist in the actual series. However, there is a sleeping bag in the shed. I forgot that he didn't actually find one, but there's a sleeping bag in there. Maybe that's where 11 slept. Second of all, when Will runs out to go to the shed, the light in the shed is already on. His mom is at home. Jonathan's at home. Who turned on the light in the shed? Who turned on the light? Maybe. As we know, Demogorgons go after blood. Why would they have chased after Will if Will was not bleeding? For some reason, they chased him back to his house where the lock on the door opens. Now, what if? I'm not saying it wasn't Vecna who took Will in the shed. I think it was Vecna in the shed, but I think the person who opened the door was 11. Now, hear me out here, okay? I love 11. Before I say this, no 11 hate my comment sections, okay? Because at the end of the day, she was an 11-year-old, mentally 7-year-old girl, okay? She sees Will get home. She's like, uh-oh. She opens the door so it'll get Will while she runs away. Now, hear me out here. Just think about it, right? She's on survival mode. It would make sense for her, while she's running from this thing, to, I'm not gonna lie, take someone down, right? If she opens that door, she can get away. So she opens it so it'll go after Will, and she runs. That would also explain why, I think it's in episode 2 or 3 of season 1, she just mysteriously knows what Will looks like. Mike has a picture that she then points to and goes, how do you know that? How do you know that? She, at that point, should not have known what Will looks like. Now, when you first watch the series, that detail kind of goes unnoticed, because it's okay, well, she has psychic abilities, yeah. But as the series has progressed, we know her abilities, we know what she can do. So how did she know? There is no reason as to why she would have known what Will looked like, right? So maybe she saw Will when Will got back to his house when she was hiding in his shed. Then, Will goes out to the shed, he has the gun, and we see the light flare. I think that's I think it was Vecna who took Will, but I don't think it was supposed to be Will in that shed. It was supposed to be 11 in that shed. And she basically baited that motherfucker. Let's say the Demogorgon is chasing after, right? Or spots 11, thinks that 11's going in here. When she opens the door, that gives her an exit, or an opportunity for Will to go run into the shed while she runs away from the shed. So she basically baits and switch them so that they get Will instead. Now you might be thinking, well, if it was after 11, then why did they stop, why was it just Will, right? Because Will and 11, very different. Hear me out here. I think part of it was for 11's psychic ability. That would explain why they were going after her specifically, why Vecna has a motive to go after 11. Primarily, her powers. But hear me out. This ties in with the Will Byers gets power theory. Somehow, with Vecna taking Will into the Upside Down, it's supposed to be 11, it's Will. However he does it, somehow Will gains powers. Which means Vecna doesn't need 11 anymore. Which would explain why he stops chasing after 11. They would explain why it was supposed to be 11. But somehow, through the process of taking him to maybe it was Dimension X, maybe whatever it was. Somehow, through the process of taking him, he gains powers too. Which means Vecna no longer needs 11 for this. He has Will. It would explain why a random-ass kid was the one. It would explain why they chased after him, why they got him specifically, because there was no motive, there was no specific reason that we know of so far for them to get Will. But there is one for 11, there's a connection there. It would explain why it's noted so many times, oh, is that a boy? This boy broke into my kitchen. Why are they comparing 11 to a boy so much? It it could tie back to all the times that 11 has said, oh, I felt like the monster all along, I was the monster all along, right? It would explain why Will has no recollection of this, no memory of this. If he has powers, he has no idea that he has powers. But that would explain why, let's just say, here's the thing, okay? I think no matter what, inarguably, it was Vecna who took Will in the shed. But after that, he was just in the Upside Down. You're telling me he was able to run from Vecna in the Upside Down for a week? Huh? Maybe it was because whatever happened in that shed, Will gets taken, Will gets powers, Will lets out some kind of power, whatever it was, and Vecna goes, I need that. So that's why Will got away. Are we hearing what I'm saying here? But primarily, the idea is that it was never meant to be Will. It was supposed to be 11 in that shed, and by her opening that door, she basically, whatever she did, I think she was the catalyst for why it then took Will instead. And Will was her replacement when he gained powers. It would explain why there are so many parallels between Will and 11, especially if they reveal at the end it was always the two of them, because the two of them weren't, right? There has to be further expansion on it, because of the fact that when 11 gets out of that lab, we don't see any clips of her actually running until she gets to Benny's Burgers. That's the first time that we see her, I'm pretty sure. I'm fairly confident that's like the first time we actually see a clip of her after whatever happened there, how she got out and stuff, right? There was a gap of time in between when she got out, presumably, and when everything happened. I think whatever happened on the night that Will got taken, whatever happened, it was meant to be 11, she escaped, she hid, they swapped places, and Will gained powers, which made him take 11's role. That's what got the buyers involved, that's what got everyone else involved, that's the catalyst for the story. Oh, you can tie that back to Will's connection to femininity. The fact that he took a girl's place. He was supposed to be 11, and you had Will replace him in that entire, oh my god. His entire backstory and like trauma revolving around this idea of like him being too feminine, him like having these effeminate traits, and the fact that he then took the place of a girl, the idea that it just happens to you, you can't avoid it. How that relates back to queerness, like it's not a choice. You could do anything you want, you could try so hard to not have that happen, but it still happens. How that relates back to the idea of Esset. I'm reaching the fucking flow state. And the connection that can then have back to Mike and Will's relationship with the fact that 11 took Will's place as Mike's romantic interest. Like maybe that will be the connection back to that, because of the fact that they have this love triangle going on. Maybe it was never supposed to be 11, it was supposed to be Will, but then 11 took his place by effectively taking his life, but maybe the conclusion of that will be everything going back to its right place, the right side up. Again, 11 having that idea and that the repeated concept of, what if I was the monster all along? What if she was the monster all along? What if she was the reason this happened and she doesn't even know? Oh, how that relates back to 11's character and the entire premise of like trying to find herself. Her gaining autonomy, her gaining her own life, but at the cost of taking another child's childhood. Am I crazy? I sound like Joyce right now, huh? And maybe people have already like hypothesized this already, but that's just what I'm thinking after rewatching that first episode and seeing that interview where the Duffers like talked about that opening scene, because it made me think, well, why, we know it wasn't a Demogorgon, but what if it wasn't Vecna? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Let me know if I sound delusional and crazy right now, but I genuinely think it was meant to be her. I think it was meant to be her. And I think that explains why there's no explanation as to why it was Will, what happened. I don't think it was ever meant to be him.
I feel like this theory honestly makes a lot of sense. And I've been saying that I think 11 is the one who created the Upside Down. That's like been a concept in my head for a really long time now. I also feel like it makes a lot of sense. And I also genuinely think that 11 is going to have to die for the Upside Down to go away. I truly think that that's going to be the whole conspiracy theory. I want to hear your guys' thoughts though, because I'm really excited for the next season. It's coming out tomorrow while I'm filming this. But I think part 2 comes out in December, so we probably won't know the answer to this theory for quite some time. But I want to hear your guys' thoughts, especially if you're a huge Stranger Things fan, let us know. But a lot of people agreed with this TikToker's theory, like it literally has 1.1 million likes on it. So I know a lot of people believe it to be true. Let me hear your thoughts. But anyway, that is it for today's video. If you guys liked it, please give it a big thumbs up. Let me know in the comments below what other conspiracy theories that you want to see from me. What do you want to hear me talk about? But that is it. Make sure you follow me on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram, and subscribe for new videos every week. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.